You are fortunate that you have the magic shield, or this giant would cause problems for you. Oh, good. So he's not going to hurt me, I guess. Just, like, by default. Okay. So now the thing to do, I think, is to just wait until the giant, like, gets tired and sits down or something. And then I can take whatever that thing is in his hand and then get out of here. What luck! The huge giant fell fast asleep. Good thing I waited around on the screen for a really long time. Very carefully, you slip the magic chest from the sleeping giant's arms. Alright. Well, that was cool. So now I have the chest. I think I have everything. So I just need to go back and take it to the king, and I should be done with the game. If I'm not mistaken. Okay. Take care not to fall down these steps. It's a lot of stairs. One thing you'll notice is that you can't walk diagonally in this game. So when you do things like navigate downstairs, you need to do this left-right thing, or down-left thing repeatedly. If you go down too far, you'll fall to your death. It's a weird perspective thing. Okay. All right. I'm almost done. Just gotta bring my stuff to the king. Do. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Misfortune strikes and you have fallen into the moat. Your struggles and crimes have attracted hungry alligators. They do not want to let you go. We at Sierra wish to thank you for playing King's Quest. We are delighted by your score and hope you are enjoying the game. Alright. I'm almost done. Just gotta go back and not fall in the river this time. Or the moat, I guess I should say. Almost there. I'll save before I try to cross that bridge again. I think there are a couple things I didn't do that I won't get the full score from not doing, like pushing the witch into the oven and getting the magic ring from the elf. But I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I don't need a complete score. The huge doors swing open slowly. This is the final march. All right. Bow to King. When you bow to King Edward, his pleased smile warms you. You move aside as the king steps from his throne. As you approach the throne, the king himself rises to commend you for a job well done. Oh, oh, the king proclaims in pain. What? From the seemingly lifeless king, you hear these words. Well done, Sir Graham. You have been a good and faithful servant. Your reward is well deserved. My kingdom is now yours. With those words, King Edward the Benevolent dies. The experiences of your quest will be invaluable to you as you begin your reign as King of Daventry. Oh, I'm sure. Thank you for playing King's Quest. From Ken to Roberta Williams, Sol Ackerman, and Chris Eden, Jeff Stevenson, Mark Crow, Bob Ballou, Mikkel Knight, Susan Lee, Russ Truelove, and Larry Weisenborn. So you're just going to sit on the screen? Nothing else? Nothing else happens? What wizard says, congrats on becoming king of this crappy land? Ah, this crappy land. This crappy land indeed. So that was King's Quest. The original King's Quest. The one that started it all, the real story. How Sir Graham of Daventry became King Graham of Daventry. How he ascended the throne by completing a elaborate fetch quest, by getting 3 sacred objects, a shield and a scepter and some golden egg and some chest full of gold. I think that's everything. Yeah. So I guess it was actually 4 items. So yeah, that was the start at all. I don't know. Um I don't really know how to evaluate this game just because it is so old. Like, it's very difficult for me to put myself in the mind frame of like 1987 when this came out. And from my understanding, the only adventure games that existed prior to this were like text adventure games. So it was and well text adventure games and adventure games that kind of overlaid like very simple graphical images over text. So similarly to this, you would have had in things like the Princess and the Wizard, I think was one of them, and like Zork. No, Zork was pre graphics. It was all text. But anyways, there were Mystery House was another one by Sierra that was had extremely primitive images along with text. But Sierra was really, I think, technologically like doing some new and design wise doing some new things for games at the time. Um, they had this whole scheme where the person you're playing as could actually move through the environment. It looks a little bit like an Atari game, I guess, in but maybe a little bit more vibrant. I think this is 256 colors, whereas Atari would have not been as vibrantly colored as this game was. So yeah, a little bit graphically more appealing than an Atari game, but with all sort of the more nuanced, if you want to call them that, the more complex elements that you come to expect from a PC game, which is more like supposedly a little bit more like story driven, less of an emphasis on dexterity and kind of video gaming skill, and more of an emphasis on solving puzzles. Unfortunately, the puzzles were all bad, um, and I think I can say that pretty objectively. Like, I don't think there was one intuitive puzzle in here. There was nothing that just like, I mean, okay, so the stuff in it that was kind of fun was whenever you got the chance to connect like a fairy tale with the solution. So like taking the goat to knock down the troll on the bridge, that was kind of fun, and that was pretty intuitive because like at least if you know the stories, it's not super surprising that that's what you would need to do. Um, what else was there? I guess pushing the witch into the oven, which I didn't do, but planting the seeds and growing the beanstalk to get in the clouds, like all that stuff is not that hard to like guess at least. Now the implementation is something else entirely when it comes to getting the game or actually telling the game to do what you want it to do. Um, and one thing that can be very frustrating about text parser games is that it's not always clear what's actually possible inside the game. So like I don't know. I feel like there are 100 different ways that you could get the goat to come with you and go to the bridge to knock down the troll. It happens that you have to show the goat the carrot. You can't give him the carrot. You have to show him the carrot, which might not sound like that. Might sound like, oh, like that's obvious. But the thing is that that's the only time that verb appears as a possibility, is in that one situation. And of course, in the English language, there's so many verbs that you could use in so many different situations throughout this game. Um, I think What Wizard and Panda Space Dan were joking about it a little bit. Like, I mean, if to solve the puzzle of the bowl, putting soup in the bowl, all you have to type is fill bowl, then why stop there? I mean, if anything is possible, why not, as What Wizard said, give them the bowl, give them the dagger, teach them to be thieves, train them in the art of assassination. If anything, that's actually a little bit more plausible than just putting a bowl out and typing the word fill and having it just like magically fill up with soup. Okay, so like that puzzle drove me crazy when I was playing this game before the days of having a walkthrough. The first thing I thought of was to go to that spigot outside of the house and pumping some water into that thing, so that I mean it did say fill on the bottom after all, so maybe you just fill it with water and it'll bubble over with soup and then you can give it to the family, right? Wrong. You can't put water in it. If you put water in, and even if you could, it won't do anything. That spigot doesn't even work. And I racked my brain for so long when I first played this game trying to figure out how to get that damn spigot to work. The spigot doesn't work. It's a total red herring. You just type fill, and the bowl fills up. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, and it's kind of stupid to get mad at stuff like this. It's just a game, and as a game, it came before. Like, it's hard for me to imagine to like put myself back before, um, this at the time that this game came out. This was just like a totally new medium. I mean, you had like basic, you had a little bit of a history there with text adventure games, um, and but when it came to like solving puzzles, like solving 3D puzzles, this was pretty new territory at the time. So it's a little easier for me to forgive them for some of its faults, and I think they got a little bit indulgent with the tech at some points, like climbing the beanstalk. Okay, it might seem like just a stupid, simple thing. I think the reason why they made it so hard was because they really wanted to emphasize, that moving through 3D space, using that movement through 3D space as an element that you might use to complete and to overcome an obstacle in the game. The problem was that the points on the beanstalk where you fall are just completely arbitrary. Like there's from what I could tell, there's pretty much no connection between what you see on the beanstalk and the point where it's going to make you fall. So as you're climbing up that thing, you just kind of have to randomly guess where to go next, and hope that it's not a place that's going to send you falling down to the ground. And by trial and error, if you save a game the furthest up on the beanstalk you are, and then restore it and do that every time you fall, you can kind of figure out the right path to take. So I was able to do it actually relatively quickly using that method. Um, but yeah, it's not a good obstacle by any means. There's no skill involved. It's all trial and error. And it doesn't, like, as much as in the minds of the creators of the game that may have seemed like a good demonstration of the tech, like kind of combining being able to move through the environment and using that as something that you actually need to overcome in the game. It was a very poor implementation because, like I said, they're not actually using the visual element at all because it is totally random. Like, you could have just as easily, it would have made just as much sense to just have that in a text adventure game and have it just be, you have to press a random combination of arrow keys in order to get to the top. Because, like I said, the visual element played absolutely no part in where the right place to go on the screen was while you're climbing that beanstalk. So, anyways, those are just a few examples of I think, ways that this game, I think, was trying to be kind of a tech demo in some ways, trying to show off what was possible with these kinds of graphics. But they had a lot of growing up to do. The games had a lot of growing up to do, and we've gotten there. I mean, there have been wonderful 3D adventure games that came out after this. As I used to love Sierra games when I was younger, and I still have a soft spot for a lot of them. I think as I've grown older, I've definitely become a greater appreciator of the LucasArts games, which came out around the same, like they definitely coexisted for a while. They were competitors, and the thing about LucasArts games that I just love so much more is the designers are very deliberate about not creating fail states. So in the Sierra games, if you go up to the clouds before, this is a poor example because I think you could actually go back down and fix this. But let's say you go up to the clouds without the shield. You didn't go to get the shield first. You save your game while you're up in the clouds and you can't get down, let's say. The giant kills you and you're dead. There's no way to get back to where you were before unless you had a saved game down there. And it's possible that if you save your game in the wrong place, like while you're up in the clouds, you might have to start all the way over from the beginning. And, there are all kinds of, like, all the King's Quest games had stuff like that. I think maybe minus the seventh one. I remember a puzzle in King's Quest 6 where you needed to use a skeleton key to unlock a door in a castle. And the only place, and by the way, you needed to do this to complete the game. But the only place you could get a key was in the underworld. And the only way you could get that key in the underworld was by playing a xylophone. and having a bunch of skeletons come out and dance to this xylophone that you're playing. And while they do that, one of them just drops a key, and you gotta pick it up. If you don't play that xylophone back in the underworld, which was a completely unrelated thing that happened way earlier in the game, there's no way to get back to the underworld, and you're stuck. You're just stuck in the castle, and this is like probably the last like 20 minutes of the game. If you can't get through that door because you didn't play the xylophone to get the skeleton key, you're screwed. You can't finish King's Quest VI. You have to start all over from the beginning unless you have a saved game in the underworld. So that's why whenever I play these games, I'm super meticulous about saving my game in about 1,000 different places because I want to make sure that if I screw anything up, I can fix it. Yeah, so that's just poor design. And at the time, you could maybe argue at the time they didn't know any better. I think when LucasArts came around, which isn't long after this, and started making Maniac Mansion, and then later on they did a sequel to that, Day of the Tentacle and Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Sam and Max. All those games avoided a lot of those same pitfalls that you see in these Sierra games. And it's really too bad because like you would have hoped that they would have learned that these things were really crappy and frustrating. But it continues on. It continues on. Like I mentioned, King's Quest VI having that incredibly obtuse puzzle. King's Quest VI is a little bit better about it than the other ones, but it's still obviously it has crap like that in it. So yeah, the evolution that Sierra focused on had everything to do with graphics and had relatively little to do, I think, with puzzle design. So yeah, that's the deal with that. And it's too bad that they were only able to focus their energies on improving the tech side of things, and they weren't really able to ever, I think, overcome some of the inherent flaws in the series, which is too bad because the games are very charming. I like the fairy tale land. I like, using your knowledge of fairy tale stories to solve puzzles. I think that's really cute and really fun. It was great for me when I was a kid, even though this game like makes no sense and I never could have even dreamed of beating it without a walkthrough. As a kid, I still just enjoyed wandering around and meeting the fairy tale characters and using objects and figuring out how to use my knowledge of these stories to knock the troll off the bridge with the goat and to climb the beanstalk and to do all these other things. So yeah, this will still hold a special place in my heart, even though I know it is not by any means a good game anymore. Important, historically important game, not a good game. But anyways, yeah, sorry that I couldn't just like gush with King's Quest love because I do really like this series. But I think there'll be some stronger moments later on, and I'm looking forward to exploring those with you because my plan for this week is to play through as much of the King's Quest series as I can. I think the games start getting a little longer from here on out, so that'll be I'll have to break it up a little bit more, and I might not. If I don't finish the series by the end of the week, I might not continue it on next week. I might break and do something else and then come back to it. But yeah, let's say for this week, make a goal of completing King's Quest 1 through 4, which is all the text parser King's Quest games. And then maybe sometime later on I can do the next 3, which are all non-text parser games, all graphical interface games. So anyways, I'm out. It's late. I'm tired. And that was King's Quest. So thanks for watching. All right. Thanks, What Wizard. Thanks for watching. See you around.